Patriots.
Is it better than Mr. Hunt?
This is the breast one.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Those prices, you can't beat them.
Cheap units.
Chiefs Panthers. It's a game. Let's talk about it.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our incredible partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. Always appreciative of them and the incredible people they are, and appreciate their support of KCSN over the years. I'm Ken Swanson. No, I'm not. I'm Matt Swanson, because Wednesdays are Matter Days. Here on the KC Laboratory, Matt Swanson. Here with two of my favorite Matts on the planet, especially Matthew Lane. Hi, Matthew.
Oh.
Hi, you.
What the hell?
You hold on, Hamilton. You stand up for yourself. You don't have to wait and wait your turn to talk and get after him. Don't accept that. He quit on us last week.
I know where
that name.
He did quit on us. Like, I was here during a World Series game. He takes off for who knows what reason. And also, like, what makes it worse is I know where you are, like, on his totem pole and all the beef he has with you. So if you're his favorite, what does that say about me?
It's true. That's true. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
This is rough.
Hey, you came in here with a better beard, better hair, better fit than I did, man. Like, I got to knock you down a peg a little bit here.
Fair enough.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm glad that we're back. I'm glad the three Matt Migos are back together. We enjoyed Tucker stepping in last week, but we are back. We are ready to talk about this vaunted Chiefs Panthers game coming off of the Chiefs' first loss of the year. As always, we got to go to Hamilton here and figure out, what were your thoughts on this Chiefs Bills game of the past week? What'd you see from the Chiefs that you liked, didn't like, or what were your big takeaway from that game?
Yeah, there were a few things. When you saw the Bills go straight cover one, there were some issues with separation. That was clearly concerning. The third down sacks, were kind of indicative. The 2 third down sacks are kind of indicative of some of the issues the Chiefs are having. Wanya Morris getting the brakes being off of him on one and moving Mahomes into a sack, and then just nobody getting open on the other. So as we talked about, obviously 9-1, you're not panicking, but there are some issues that the Chiefs have had and kind of masked over those first 9 games that reared their heads in a big way in that loss. But again, it's hard to be overly concerned. They're right there. There are opportunities to win that game. On the defensive side, as we talked about, Josh Allen's legs were going to be a big factor. They were obviously on the biggest play of the game, especially. Again, not getting overly concerned, but there are issues the Chiefs have to address there. And the run game, outside of the one big run from Kareem Hunt, the run game was inefficient again. Pacheco's practicing. Hopefully he makes it back at some point soon, because I think there needs to be another element to that run game than what we're seeing right now.
Got anything, Kent? Did you want to jump back in here?
I was going to let you cook, Matthew.
Okay. Sorry. My bad. So yeah, I agree with a lot of the stuff that Hamilton said there. I think that how I framed that game up was like, it was the game. All of the issues for the Chiefs that have shown up through all of season all showed up again in one game versus a team that was capable of beating them. And you look back, and the Chiefs have played a relatively difficult schedule, but not all of the issues showed up in every single game when we're talking offense and defense. And this one, they all kind of showed up. And the Chiefs were still competitive. It was still a close game. They had their chances to win there in the second half, where I think they let the game get away from them. So, you can't overreact to it too much, but I do think it's notable that you saw what happens when you have certain limitations and they all show up in one game and how it might be difficult to overcome them. So it's still something to take and to learn from. I think we would all agree the Panthers probably on another team to take advantage of the Chiefs in the same way the Bills did, even if all those things go wrong. I don't think any of us are expecting this game to go quite the same.
No, I don't anticipate that happening in this scenario.
Okay, so before we get into the specific matchup of the Chiefs versus the Panthers, I want to take a little bit bigger picture approach and just kind of talk about some stuff that maybe the Chiefs need to, like the big lessons going forward that you would like to start seeing changing in this game. So this is still about the upcoming game against the Panthers, things we want to see, but maybe a little less about the matchup directly with the Panthers because, we'll get there, but it's also the Panthers, like how much is there to talk about with that matchup, right? The first thing I want to start with, the Chiefs probably should quit trying to win every single game by one score. I know that worked last year and it worked to start this year. And theoretically, it makes sense. You have the best player in the league. You think that you can out execute every team down the stretch. You can rely on your defense and your run game to keep games close. The strategy is sound, but here's the issue. Your run game is very inefficient, or not inefficient. It's kind of efficient. It's just not very dangerous. It doesn't scare anybody. You really have to lean into it to get bang for your buck in the run game because there's no dynamic plays. And defensively, it's starting to unravel a little bit. I know the season-long metrics aren't bad, but here, since Jalen Watson has gone out, the Chiefs rank 24th in defensive EPA overall. They rank 29th in dropback, like EPA on dropbacks. They rank, I believe it is, in success rate, they're also in the low 20s on dropback. So without Jalen Watson, this defense is a bottom third of the league defense. That's why you can no longer expect to hold teams to scoring under 28 points every single week. And granted, only one team only scored that against them over this time, but the defense was starting to slip a little bit. I think the way the Chiefs won last year and the way the Chiefs have been winning a lot this year, it might be time to back off that strategy. Is something you can do week in and week out until you see the defense start to improve and play better than what they have. So this would probably be a good week to go out there and say, maybe we're allowed to score a few more points on the offensive side. Maybe we can try to open it up a little bit offensively. We don't need to control the entire game script. We don't need to lead the league in time of possession this year. We can rather be a little bit more explosive, and maybe that's difficult with their personnel. I just wonder if there's a mindset shift looking at how the defense is starting to struggle this season as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, when we talked before the trade deadline, I was wondering if the Chiefs would make a move at corner because, what they had behind Jalen was not super – wasn't something exciting. You'd be super confident in, and wasn't super exciting. And that was their chance to kind of make something happen. Again, it's tough also bringing in a new guy. You don't know exactly what you're getting, but still, I would have loved to see them make an ad there. Again, they made some great moves at the deadline. Don't get me wrong. Getting DeAndre Hopkins in was a big deal, and I think will continue to be. But that was an area of concern, and they didn't address it. And you wonder how much it will be a factor here down the stretch. But I do think, we'll still see what's going on with Pacheco. I think that is going to infuse some energy into this run game that's been missing. If he isn't there this week, I do want to see, some of the pieces are back in the passing game now, but I think it's all going to come together. There were some opportunities on a couple of those, the sack, the Von Miller sack. If Mahomes has time there, he's hitting a big play either side. I don't know what Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin were doing there, but he had both sides. It was Worthy. I forget who was on the other side, but he had both guys wide open if he just has a little bit of time. So it's kind of that. It's just not working in concert. You see wins happening on both sides. But again, when the offensive line's doing its job, nobody's getting open. When people are getting open, the offensive line wasn't doing its job. That was kind of the story, I feel like, of in a lot of moments in that Bills game where they really needed to make a play. Again, with this Chiefs team, they're too good for that to continue. But I want to see, I agree with you. I want to see them, really take to the air and light it up a little bit against this Panthers defense.
Yeah, there's been so many what ifs, I think, in the even not just against the Bills, just in general, especially with Xavier Worthy, he's the explosive element that they really have, and potentially the only explosive element. I don't know if you saw the clip of Ben Fennell watching the Chiefs, kind of lumbering against man coverage in this game here, but it really did show up in a big way that that they have guys that are, there's not a lot of juice, in that pass catching group. There's a lot of experience, but there maybe not be as much as juice as you'd like to see. And so hey, look, they really focused on trying to get Xavier Worthy involved in this game against the Bills. And I don't think it was just to troll the Bills who allowed them to draft Xavier Worthy, although part of me kind of wished it was, but I think he's the closest thing to an explosive element in this offense. And when you go down the list, it kind of, the running back room is not dynamic. And I would love to see the Chiefs draft a running back in the top 100 picks next year. Candidly, add a little bit more juice to that running back room. So you're not getting out of the running back room. You're hoping Pacheco can give you a little bit of that. I think they had some plans for Pacheco in the passing game too. Whenever he does come back, because like you kind of saw them, they had some some of that exit motion from the running back out of the backfield, kind of, running a little angle route or a shoot route or something like that. They were trying to get him involved. We haven't seen any of that in the passing game this year from Kareem Hunt or Carson Steele, which is not surprising. But I'd like to see them. I get why they're trying to get Xavier Worthy involved. By the way, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped. I think I was supposed to bring that up earlier. Sorry, Tucker, but we'll talk more about them here in a little bit. All right, Matthew, do you want to are you okay with kind of previewing a little bit more now ish? Not, just.
No, sorry. It just, that was the prelude. Was I just kind of want to talk about, I think the Chiefs have played a certain style of football for the past, year and a half. And it was a big talking point last year, how Mahomes and the offense had to learn to allow the defense to win them games. And I think this year they've come into it with that mindset. And to start the year, it still worked because the defense was still playing well. I just think without Jalen Watson, you were starting to see that defense unravel a bit at the seams.
But here's the one thing I think I want to ask, because then we can kind of get a little bit more specific about what we want to see out of this offense. But I do want to say I don't think this is what they signed up for walking into the season. And I think when you have a Rashee Rice and when you have a Hollywood Brown in the mix and in the plans, that's where this team was. This team wasn't trying to do this necessarily, but they're starting to do a little bit more out of necessity, I think, as they bring some of these guys along. And I don't think this was necessarily the plan. It's just what they kind of had to revert back to once Rashee Rice got injured and once Hollywood Brown got injured. So I don't know.
That's fair a little bit. I just still think there's a lack of aggression compared to even how they started last year, though. I think even if you go back and look at last year with that awful wide receiver room,
the group that was losing football games. I think that's what. I think that's why they're in this spot, though.
They were pressing. They were still pressing. They were trying to put the pedal down and see what they could unleash, and then now they've backed off that. And I think you see it even in the Bills game, and we've seen it this year. When they need to this year, they still have that in them offensively. They still have that gear. It doesn't look the same, but they still have the gear where they can look elite. It's just they don't go to it very often. And I just think maybe it's time to start going there earlier in games, because this waiting till you get to the fourth quarter, I don't know how reliable that'll be with this defense, with the secondary in particular against better teams. That probably won't be tested this week that much against the Panthers, though.
Yeah, and to your point, Ken, outside of that Worthy drive, you kind of saw elements of it on the Worthy drive, and then outside of that, I think Mahomes threw for 140 yards outside of that one drive.
Mm-hmm. And Xavier Worthy didn't get a touch the rest of the game after the first half too. I think it was it was opening script, and then Xavier Worthy just did cease to exist. So.
Yeah, and that's concerning. We still haven't gotten that game where you see him kind of as a factor throughout. He's had his moments for sure, but you still want to see that happen. And again, we're used to seeing so many rookie receivers now just come in and just be dominant right away. It might not be fair to totally expect that from him here in year one, but that's kind of the position that they're in. With those injuries to Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, he is the explosive element to this offense, and you want to see it show up throughout all four quarters at some point.
So is that something we're looking for in this game? Do we think this is a Xavier Worthy get right game against the Carolina Panthers, trying to implement him even more, get involved even a little bit more? Is that something that we think is part of this game plan here?
I think everything is available against the Carolina Panthers defense. It's kind of a choose your own adventure. What do you want to work on this week, right? I mean, that's what I think it is. And I think going back to Xavier Worthy, because he's coming off of, I would argue his best game of the season. And I know in the second half he was a little quieter, but I think if you look at some of the stuff he was doing, whether it was fighting through contact on that little tunnle screen where he stays on his feet and picks up extra yards, making the contested catch, the catch through contact downfield, he got open on another deep over route. This was I think pretty clearly his best overall game, showing wide receiver development. So you would love to carry that momentum into the next game against a team that doesn't have a good pass rush, doesn't particularly have a good secondary, and see if you can't find this rhythm for him. See if you can't find and build that connection from Mahomes and him. Because We obviously saw it on the deep ball. The connection's still not 100%. And like whether you want to put more blame on Mahomes for not putting the ball upfield more towards the sideline or the wide receiver for not quite knowing where the sideline is, he needs these kind of opportunities to learn. And I think you are going to need him for the playoffs. It sounds like Hollywood Brown might be getting, entering his 3-week activation area or section of the year here pretty soon, but you don't know for sure. So Worthy is still going to be super important for this team down the stretch. Use this game to build more of that confidence, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. This Panthers defense, as you said, it's just, you kind of get to work on whatever you want to work on. I want to see them drop back and just let Mahomes let it rip and just get this passing game going. We've seen a heavy dose of Kareem on. It's been a formula that's worked. Screw it. Give him the ball, let him run 5-6 carries and just air it out and let it rip. And because I do think you're right. I think there needs to be a little bit of that element brought back to this thing. The conservative approach has worked very well going back to last year, but you're right. Things are adjusting. You have to adjust throughout the season. They had to adjust throughout the season last year. It's time to adjust back a little bit and see what you can get downfield with this group.
I'm curious how the Chiefs approach this game, because I don't know, if it's I think it could be a game that's based more just on hey, let's execute here. Let's just get this. Let's execute and let's just get right from that perspective and get out of here. Not that they don't want to, get some shot plays down the field to Xavier Worthy or anything like that, or any of those kind of things, because I do think that will definitely be part of it. But I think the emphasis will be on let's just execute. Let's just be clean and tight and get out of here. And I don't know how much they're gonna blow this team out or try to blow this team out, but I do think that they're gonna play a relatively clean football game, right? And I don't know, I'm just fascinated to see if they're really trying to use, if they're really trying to expose anything, or if they're just using this as an opportunity to get a guy like a Xavier Worthy going. Whatever the line is on Carson Steele rushing yards this week, I'm taking the over though. If we can find it, I feel like this is just a chance to just give him a few carries in this game and just let him cook. Anything else on offense you guys are looking at here? Hamilton? Yeah, Lane. We'll go. No, I was gonna go. Sorry, no. You're right. I should go to my favorite Matt. So Lane.
Jesus. Yeah. Let's go right back to the offensive line. It's something we watch every single year. It's really weird how the offensive line for the Chiefs pressure numbers, no matter who you go look through, whether it's ESPN, Pro Football Focus, wherever you find it, the pressure numbers for the Chiefs offensive line and pass protection aren't bad. They are actually better than what they usually are for Patrick Mahomes. And that just so doesn't match the eye test. And it took a while, but I think it starts to dawn on you. It's just the pocket isn't very wide. It's a very narrow pocket. There's a lot of trash around there. Mahomes constantly feels like he is going to run into somebody. Somebody is going to bump into him as he throws. He's going to be just throwing through contact because they don't have a lot of space for him to operate in. And this is coming at the same time where I do think he's trying really hard to stay in the pocket to make life easier on this offensive line. He doesn't trust all of the wide receivers when he's having to scramble and make all these plays. So he's tried to play in the pocket. It's not that everybody's giving up a ton of pressures, which are still coming at times, but it's just they don't hold a very wide pocket with a lot of space for him to move in. This is a game where you can probably, again, fix it, but start working on it. This is a game where if that happens again, if this pocket is collapsing every third pass attempt on top of Patrick Mahomes against the Panthers pass rush unit, you got big problems, right? You got big issues. So maybe it's not necessarily something to work on in this game. It's just a barometer. If they can hold up well in here, okay, maybe it can get better as the year goes on. If this pocket starts collapsing over and over again like it has the last 2 weeks on him, you might, figure out something else. You got to go back to the drawing board. I don't think there's any personnel moves they can make necessarily, but you got to go back to the drawing board and figure out what you're going to do, Hamilton.
Yeah, and I think you look at I thought the Bills did do a phenomenal job of confining Mahomes to the pocket. They had a spy on him. They really kept contained really, really well and prevented him. A lot of the Chiefs' big plays that we've seen all year is Mahomes getting outside the pocket, Mahomes taking off with it. And to see him not even have a rushing attempt in this game was pretty staggering. But it's also it is a little concerning that it was the Bills, because their rush hasn't been particularly great this year.
Mhm.
They haven't been bad, but they haven't been, a dominant unit up front as far as putting pressure on the quarterback. They're 15th in the league as far as creating pressure this year. So I think that's the thing that concerns you a little bit. But yeah, you're right. If it happens again against the Panthers, then it's a real concern, especially Clowney, I believe, didn't practice today with a knee injury. So who knows if he's even going to be out there. That's the one kind of, force off the edge that they have, proven force off the edge that they have. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye on going forward, because it was really concerning in that Bills game. There was nowhere for him to go, and he looked clearly uncomfortable as that game wore on at points.
You should see the injury report for the Panthers band. It's like 12 deep. I mean, and most of them, you get some limited participants there, you get some DNPs, but that team is absolutely banged up. Hamilton, anything else you looking for?
I think we hit it all for this one.
Let's move on then. Let's go to offensive players to watch. This is brought to you by Tickets for Less. Promo code KCSN gets you the best available discount on your Chiefs tickets. Hamilton, who's your player to watch for this game?
All right. My player to watch for this game, it's got to be at the quarterback position.
Woo.
Carson Wentz.
Yeah! Yeah! Matt, power rankings are changing, baby. Let's go.
I want to see the Chiefs build a big lead here, and let's get Carson Wentz in this game and let him take this thing home down the stretch. It's time. Let's get it going. Let's get Carson Wentz out there and let it rip. Let him throw his first pass as a Chief this week. That's my player to watch.
I love it. I love it.
Okay. I don't want to do Patrick Mahomes, but I would like to see him come out and play more aggressive, and that goes into how we started the show. So I'm not going to pick him for this, but I would like to see him play more aggressive to start this game, to build that lead and build the runway for Carson Wentz. My player to watch, people, I hope this gets somehow used for motivation, maybe down the stretch. Travis Kelce is my guy to watch, because buddy, woo. It is rough watching him catch these short passes right now and be asked to not create a ton of yards after the catch, but give you a little bit, right? Like, you check the ball down to him on 2nd and 3, and he has a little bit of separation. You're like, okay, he's going to be able to at least fall forward for a yard. Nope. You drop the ball off to him on 3rd and 14, and the guy that's covering him is coming from the opposite side of the field as a deep, split field safety. You're like, okay, he's going to pick up at least 8 yards here, make it 4th, and maybe we go for it. If he makes him miss, maybe he just picks up the first down. Nope, not even close. It's just, we've gotten to the point of Kelsey's career where I don't know if the athleticism is going to be there to ever really be a weapon after the catch anymore. And he's kind of a spot up guy now. You got to throw him the ball, and he's going down when he catches it. How effective can they make him in that role? Can they quit giving him not giving him so many opportunities, but quit putting him in the position that he has to catch the ball and then make something happen after he catches it and produce yards after the catch for the play to be ultimately a success? Because I think we're seeing, as the year goes on, as his volume of usage has gone up, it's gotten even worse and worse in terms of how the yards after the catch are going compared to the expectation and making guys miss. So I just want to see how he rebounds this game, coming off a bad game versus the Bills, where both of his only 2 targets and catches were, he tackled immediately, didn't make anyone miss. Does it get better this game, or do they start to figure out how to use him in this skill set he currently has? Because he's not the same guy he was half a year ago.
I'm going Carson Steele, because
Wait, hold on. Is there another Carson I can pick?
Carson Wentz needs somebody to hand the ball off to, baby. I don't know what the over-unders are going to be on Carson Steele. Been trying to research some anytime touchdown scoring. I'm going to have to check that on old FanDuel. Matthew Hamilton, I'm going to have to check that out.
Props are not out yet. I looked for you, bud.
No anytimes either? Oh.
No, not yet. We're not there yet.
All right. Well, we're gonna be waiting on that. Hamilton, you have to tweet that out at some point. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I could see Carson Steele getting some opportunities in this game. I really could. I'm just kind of curious to see how he looks. This is a little bit cheeky, but I don't know how many things we're going to take away from this game. I don't know how much we're going to walk away. I think you're just hoping to see a clean performance from this team. You're hoping to see them dominate and execute. And I hope they get Carson Steele some opportunities as well as Xavier Worthy. We're doing a lot of things here in Kansas City this Christmas, and there's something that we do every year that we're really passionate about, and it's a raffle that we do every single year, the Solar Casey raffle. And this is, I believe, our 4th year doing it, I believe, that's wild that we do it. But anyways, we do a giant raffle to kind of help support Operation Breakthrough and help kids out there have a tremendous Christmas that may not otherwise have, the resources necessary to have, everything that a lot of us are blessed with every year and every day. So we're doing a giant raffle. The links are in the description of this show if you want to participate at givebutter.com. The links down there. You could also Venmo KC Sports Network. You're entered to win a ton of prizes. We have all kinds of great prizes out there that you can win. So a bunch of signed memorabilia from Nick Bolton, Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, all kinds of great, donations from Holiday. I think we got some Chiefs tickets as well. So all kinds of great stuff to give you guys a chance to take advantage of it. So please donate to the raffle. I think 1 ticket for $20. What is it, Tucker? 5 tickets for $50. Is that right? Yeah, Tucker's like, I don't know. But go to Give Butter. The link's in the description of this show. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
All right, everyone. With the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all these festive gatherings like Matt Hamilton is right now, and maybe finally win that Best Groomed at the Family Dinner Award, also going to Matt Hamilton. Are you seeing a theme here? Check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, it's like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. Head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code KC Sports for 20% off and free shipping. I mean, look, Hamilton, I know this thing could get you just nice and lined up better than you already are. You probably are already using it now. So if you want to be like Matt Hamilton, get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code KC Sports at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code KC Sports at manscaped.com. I love that Rudolph line. Is just an absolute banger. So great. Defense time.
Yeah, I didn't know where Rudolph in your face was going for a second.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Manscaped.com. Promo code KC Sports is where it's going.
It's a great deal.
Guide it home.
Guide it home, baby. Here we go. Back stretch of the show. Talk about the defensive side of the ball. And Hamilton, Nazeeh Johnson, I think the Chiefs fans' fears were realized a little bit in that game where the Chiefs didn't make any moves to address the cornerback position. Jalen Watson's out. They're stuck there kind of with who they've got. They're playing pretty thin. They played 2 outside corners in this game. They played Nazeeh Johnson and Trent McDuffie. Those were their 2 outside corners that they played in this game. Some would say that Nazeeh Johnson's listed as a safety, and Trent McDuffie plays in the nickel. Some would argue they didn't play any outside corners. But I mean, that was a fear that was realized. Do we really think that the Carolina Panthers can truly threaten the cornerback position too much, though?
I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard. Legette has had some nice moments this year, especially lately. He's been coming on strong. So you have to respect him and legitimately worry about what he can do there. Bryce Young's been playing better lately. The bar wasn't super high, but he's been getting better. And we are rooting for him. We like to see him. Oh no, it wasn't actually, but yeah, that worked well. I wish it was. But yeah, no, he's been. We want to see Bryce Young do well, so I'm happy he's doing better. But I think, this is probably going to be a rough week for him. But yeah, I do wonder, what does it say about Josh Williams that we haven't seen him more yet?
It's stunning because this guy's played a lot of snaps for them. Like he's
Yeah.
played a lot of snaps, a lot of
in
meaningful
huge
snaps for them.
moments. Yeah, I mean, he was out there with the AFC Championship on the line a couple of years ago, and they trusted him in those moments. Although I guess they didn't have as much of a choice, but still, I'm wondering, is this a game where we might start to see him a little? Because I don't think the Najee Johnson thing is totally sustainable based on what we've seen so far. So I'm wondering if that's something we see a little bit more, because again, the Panthers are not good, but they still have some players that you have to respect. And yeah, I do think we see too. I think, Bryce's numbers under pressure are still atrocious.
Oh no! Well, I got bad news for you, Hamilton.
Yeah, he's probably not facing the right defensive coordinator for that. So
I was going to say
they can't convert.
He's playing the right. He's playing the right four-man rush.
Well, yes, I think we see Spags really come after him, though. I do.
Yeah.
I think this is.
He's
gonna
also
be a
struggling
game where
versus the
they pin
blitz.
Back.
So that's good.
Yeah,
that's helpful.
That's not good either. Yeah. So I do think we see Spags really dial up the pressure even a little bit more this week, and just this defense pins its ears back and comes after him.
Yeah, I want to come back to like the offensive line and pressuring Bryce Young in a second, but I want to go back to like the actual just passing game. Yeah, the Najee Johnson experience through these two games has not gone well. His Twitter game has gone fantastically, but the football field game has not gone well. And it's just unfortunate because he's a guy that I know the coaching staff liked quite a bit last year. They still liked him this year. That's why he climbed over Joshua Williams, who played significant snaps in big games for them throughout his career, and passed him. And then now you're putting Najee Johnson out there, and the return on it has not been great so far. It's actually been just downright bad in some situations. And so that's highly unfortunate. And now you go up against a passing attack with the Panthers. It isn't great, but it has shown signs of life. And with Xavier Legette or even Jalen Coker, who's been playing out of the slot a lot for them these past few weeks, he's been coming on strong too. And where I wanted to go with that is, if we weren't so busy talking about Najee Johnson and his struggles, I think we would have to look at Shamari Connor and how he struggles to cover guys out of the slot. Like, he's good versus the run, coming downhill, playing shallow zones. He's very adept at doing that. He can come up and hit. He's very physical. But when they ask him to actually cover space and handle guys that are a little bit shiftier and legitimately cover guys, that hasn't been his strong suit. And since Watson's gone out, the Chiefs' slot coverage has been terrible because you can't put McDuffie in there anymore, right? Like, Trent McDuffie has to stay outside 24/7 at this point. And so you really don't have an answer for a slot wide receiver. I think Adam Thielen might even be back for this game too. I don't know what that'll do for Coker. Slot snaps as well, but like, there's just a lot that they're going to have to deal with that I don't have a ton of faith that the Chiefs secondary at this moment is going to cover it well. It's the right matchup for it because, again, we're going through a lot of players, and these guys have flashed a little bit, but it's not like Legette, this version of Adam Thielen, Coker are dominating teams, and it's not like Bryce Young is lighting teams up, but they do present, I think, a relatively unique matchup, and that the Chiefs have one good coverage player in their secondary. He also happens to be 5'11" with super short arms going up against a pretty big wide receiver room, so we'll just kind of see what happens.
There's 4 wide receivers on the Carolina Panthers roster right now. We've named 3 of them. Can you name the 4th? Can anybody name the 4th wide receiver? You got Coker, Legette, Thielen. Name the 4th.
Is Smith Marset still there?
No.
He is not. He's a giant.
Okay. My bad, guys.
Disappointing. Sorry. No, sorry. No. I'm sorry.
I think it's David Moore.
It is David Moore. Congratulations, Matt Hamilton, climbing up the Matt rankings again.
Yes.
So they got 4 of them. And we named 3 of them. One guy that we haven't got to see in the National Football League this week or this year is coming back this week. It's Jonathan Brooks, the running back out of Texas. So he will be back for the Carolina Panthers this week. It is believed. So like, that would be potentially cool to see him getting his opportunity against the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, like, we know about the cornerback situation. What else do you want to see out of this team? Like, just this team get home with 4? Is that it? Like, you want to see them get home with 4 a little bit? What do you think, Matthew? Like, that'd be nice, I guess.
Defensively, I don't know what I want to see from the Chiefs against the Panthers here in this situation, just because for the fact that this isn't whatever happens in this game, I don't think translates well to a lot of what else they're going to do because of the struggles of Bryce Young, because of this wide receiver group isn't that, explosive. They're just not that scary. Yeah, it would be nice to see the 4-man pass rush start to get home on what's been a very good offensive line this year. The Panthers' offensive line's played very well. So if you start getting home with 4 this week, that would be, nice to see. I don't even care if the pressure gets home with blitzes and all of a sudden the blitzes Josh Allen's a different beast, but like only a couple blitzes really beat the Bills, right? To where you got a free rusher at Josh Allen and you really got a chance. You weren't beating them consistently with the blitz like we have seen Spags do to other teams. So yeah, getting back to where the blitzes are working, you're getting a lot more free runners would be nice to see as well. I'm mostly just intrigued to see just kind of like, how the coverage unit holds up. Can they stop a Panthers run game, which has been very good? And then it would just be a bonus. I don't expect it, but it would be a bonus if Chris Jones has a dominant game, if George Karlaftis picks back up where he had been the previous weeks, or hey, how about this? Play Joshua Uche a little bit more and let the one speed rusher on the team showcase some speed and just see if that helps spark something from this defensive line.
Yeah, that's a great point because they have him there. You need a spark. Let's get it going. But you're right. The Panthers' run game has been really good. I mean, the Chiefs' run defense again against running backs, phenomenal again last week against James Cook. The other thing I want to see in this game, they still have had their rough moments against tight ends, and that's the one thing I think where the Panthers have created some explosive. Jatavian Sanders has had a couple big moments over the last month. Had the big touchdown against the Giants in Germany, had an 87-yard game against the Saints, a 61-yard game against Washington. He's flashed a little bit too, and he's a guy who can make some big plays. So, again, it wasn't a huge factor last week with Dawson Knox, but there still were a few moments where Dawson Knox, who's not, the most dangerous receiving threat at tight end, was able to make some big plays. So I do want to see that is something that I'm going to be watching for here too.
Yeah, it really does feel just, and what I'm fascinated too is like just across the board, like going back to the secondary a little bit. It just feels like Jalen Watson was like the last stick holding this thing together a little bit, where they had like capability outside so they could protect the linebackers and safeties a little bit more. But then now that they can't protect they can't protect those guys now a little bit because they've got Najee Johnson there a little bit more too. So like, I just feels like that was the last straw, and like things have just kind of looked and been a little bit rough since. So I just want to see this team get right. I hope the pass rush gets going a little bit. It'd be nice just to see some of these, Felix pin his ears back and get a sack or something like that. Although I just don't know if it's really telling us much about the season as much as it would be nice to see.
Well, I would say this: if the pass rush shows up versus this Panthers offensive line, I don't think that's anything to scoff at. Like if they're, deep in the rep and it's Bryce Young just kind of running around, not being able to see over the line, be able to find anybody open, that's one thing. But if they're winning quickly and, these guys are getting pressure just on this offensive line, that's worth taking home, because the Panthers offensive line, generally speaking, has blocked very well this year. The money they spent on the interior's
been good.
Well.
Yeah. Yep.
Even the tackles, though, have played, above average most of the season. So I think this is a good test for the 4-man pass rush to see what these guys have, to see what they can do. And then I think it also doubles down is like, okay, I think the Chiefs are going to have a lot of motivation coming off the Bills game, but the Panthers have leaned into the run game quite a bit. Like that's been a huge part of what they do. Every time we say the Chiefs are up against a big challenge for it, they have risen to that occasion, right? And they've played very well. I just wonder in this game, when you've heard for the past 2 weeks straight, your 4-man pass rush is one of the worst in the NFL. They can't do anything. Hey, watch the Bills game. They're too afraid to even just try to rush for. What do they come out and play a little bit less gap sound? Do they come out and play a little bit more aggressive, get upfield and kind of get caught lacking and give up an explosive plays with Jonathan Brooks, who I think is coming back, and then Chuba Hubbard, whoever it might be. So that's just like the last thing. This pass rush against this offensive line is not like a gimme matchup. It's a difficult one. Anything else on the defensive side for you, Hamilton, that sticks out that you want to see or got your eyes out for?
That also was the last thing I was going to hit. This Panthers offensive line, don't confuse it with what we saw last year. They've gotten so much better than a year ago. Ike Ekwonu is on the injury report for this week, so that'll be something to watch. As Ken said, a laundry list of injuries going on there. But overall, they've played much better as a unit. So it actually will be a good test for this Chiefs front.
Especially interior's been like they paid on the interior. That's a very good interior. Okay, let's move on to defensive players to watch, presented by Tickets for Less. Promo code KCSN, best available discounts on their site when you go to ticketsforless.com. Hamilton, who's your defensive player to watch?
I'm going with Tramari Connor. Matt mentioned it. He's had some struggles in coverage. I think this is a game where he will be tested. I'm guessing he's probably going to see a bunch of Adam Thielen. I also, while he's struggling in coverage, it seems like almost every game he's also come up with a big play though. So I think, I'm interested to see how he does in coverage, but I'm also interested to see, again, I think we see some pressure. Bryce Young has handled it poorly. I think we see some blitzes from Shamari. I think he comes up with a big play in this one as well.
Maddie?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I mentioned him earlier. I'm going back to it. I'm going Joshua Uche. I think it's another game the Chiefs should get a lead in this game, right? Like the Panthers just shouldn't be talented enough to contend with the Chiefs. So whether you're talking about resting guys like Chris Jones and Karl Loftus, Turk Wharton, who have played a lot of snaps this year, even beyond that, just on third downs, let him get in there and really pin his ears back and see what you have. You really do need some juice coming from this defensive line somewhere, and he has it. Like even against the Bills, he got 4 pass rush reps, but like one of them was arguably the best defensive end pass rush of the entire game. Now Allen escaped the other side of the pocket, but like you can see it. It's there, and so why not give him a few more opportunities? I can maybe buy last week against Allen wanting to play a little bit more contained rush, not wanting him to get upfield. You thought you were onto something. Clearly didn't work, but I can understand the process to think that he didn't need to be out there a ton. This is a game, though, where I think you really do need to start getting him activated because they need some kind of edge threat to pair with Chris Jones while you're waiting for Charles Omenihu to get back and get up to 100%. So, yeah, give me some Uche in this game and let's see him, really get after it and use that speed versus these bigger Panthers tackles.
Give me Najee Johnson. So this is a bounce back opportunity for him. Get out there and go back and play. And like, I think one thing is, you hope that more meaningful snaps help him just kind of improve as the season goes on. Right. And like, this was a learning lesson for a guy that really hasn't got a ton of playing time over the course of his career. He played in a very big game. The Chiefs threw him into the fire and he had significant struggles. So I'm just looking to see how he responds in this game. I don't know how much he'll be tested, but let's just see this kid get back out and play a lot of meaningful snaps in this game. And let's see what happens. Let's see how he responds because like the answer, there is no answer. There's no magic bullet coming. There's no, there's no help. So what kind of opportunities does Najee Johnson get in this game? I think I have a hard time believing that he just goes from 100% of the snaps against the Buffalo Bills to not playing. So like he's going to get meaningful snaps. I'd still anticipate even if, not Joshua Williams get in, he's still going to Najee Johnson's still going to out-snap Joshua Williams, I would imagine, still in this game. So let's get right back on the horse and see what happens. Najee Johnson, the Chiefs are going to need you if they're going to do what they want to do in January and February. All right, prediction time. Hamilton. What point is Carson Wentz getting in the game?
I think, beyond just the entire month of December, apparently, I think we see him in late third quarter. And I think we finally see the Chiefs handle a game easily. I think I'm going to say 31-10 in this one. I think, as you said, I think execution is going to be a big point of emphasis. I think they take care of business. I think coming off of a game like they had against the Bills, there's, there are not only things they want to iron out, but some frustrations to work out as well. So I think they're a little bit sharper here and they take care of things and walk away finally with a win you guys can kind of rest easy with in the second half.
Every inch of my being is telling me that this is going to be a 16-12 win for the Chiefs, that they score late in the fourth quarter in one of the grossest games you've ever seen that will frustrate you more than the Bills game ever did. Like every bit of me wants to say that's going to be the score because like deep down, that is how this game goes every single time the Chiefs play it. When they play one of the bottom of the barrel teams in the NFL under Andy Reid, especially now that they've been good the last few years, it becomes a slog. That said, go ahead.
Texans in overtime 2 years ago. They had to play
Yes.
Yeah. They had to beat the Texans in overtime 2 years ago.
Did they have a game against the Falcons
Jarek McKinnon
during this stretch that was like the same thing, right? Like it's just they do this. That said, usually this kind of comes in the middle of the run where things are looking well, or you're like, okay, what's it going to be? Like they're not coming off of a loss, and this is the lowest point that they've had so far this year. It's the first time they lost. They're coming off the lowest point. I think there's very clear stuff that we've talked about that kind of needs to be ironed out, and I do think we see a shift with this team. I don't think they can sit there, and Andy Reid mentioned it in his press conference on Monday. Hey, maybe he wasn't aggressive enough, right? Maybe he's a little too conservative, and I think they've called much of the year on the offensive side like that, relying on the defense. I wonder if this is where you start to turn the page a little bit and say, okay, the offense is going to have to win us a few more games. Let's see what happens when we open it up. You let this Chiefs team open it up against this Panthers team. They should win comfortably. So I'm going to go against what my gut instinct is and to pick that really ugly score game. And I'm going to go the Chiefs big 34-15. And they finally start to look good. They get the pretty points and they get a bounce back up the power rankings for what I assume is like 22nd now that they finally lost.
Yeah. I've seen some interesting hashtag analytics on here. I think the Chiefs are 3. Never mind. The Chiefs have beat a lot of teams that are ahead of them in these.
You know what's hilarious? I'm sorry, funny. The how bad did we lose charts, like about the expected points and stuff? The Chiefs have lost like 4 of those this year that they've actually won. According to the Bills game, they won that game. So if you look on like the expected points chart, the one game they actually lost is one of the few games that they did actually win by whatever the charting is. I love some of those charts, man. They're so funny.
Well, if you take the games that they won and then flip them, they're actually 1-9 this year.
That checks out.
But they beat the Bills.
Yeah.
But they beat the Bills.
They beat the Bills. Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Well, that's 1-9, but beating your rival. That sounds like a Bengals kind of season that they'd take right now, I think.
Well, they lost to the Chiefs.
Yeah, and they've only got a few weeks left. I
thought their rival was getting fans to watch the Chiefs game from the stadium.
We have Bengals fans tweet about the Chiefs loss during the Bengals loss.
No.
Yes.
That didn't happen.
No, it definitely did. Josh Norris.
What are you doing?
Josh, they're not. What they're doing is not winning the Super Bowl, ever in their history.
They're not being the team that everybody else is afraid to play, like Jamar Chase says.
They're like terrible since Burrowhead. Sorry,
we're coping as Chiefs fans. This is how we get our frustrations out.
I like it. I don't know what it is, but I like getting Bengals jokes off when I'm around Hamilton too. Like I don't know why. I do know why.
Yeah, you do know why. Yeah. You know exactly why.
Josh Norris tweeted right after the Chiefs-Bills game that the Chiefs were going to hang 40 on the Panthers, and I joked that they were going to win 19-3. And I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen. But I also just made Carson Steele my player to watch in this game, so I don't think I can do that now. I put myself in a corner, and that corner is 29-3. Chiefs win. So I think Carson Steele gets some run in this game, getting some sweet handoffs from Carson Wentz, and the Chiefs take this thing. I think they have put a strong performance together. I think you're like, hey, cool, that's great. Moving on. I don't know if we're going to take a ton of things away, but it'd be nice to see some of the things that are keeping this team from potentially winning the Super Bowl. And yeah, so I hope they're able to take care of some business here, get Xavier Worthy going. Bounce back game for the pass rush, bounce back game for like a Najee Johnson. Those kind of things would be nice to see in this game. That is going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Go Buffs. Go run that Arrowhead.
Stop it.